Students, welcome back. Now children, today in the science and technology part 2, we are going to start with your 8th chapter, that is useful and harmful microorganisms. Children, in this chapter we are going to study about the lactobacilli, rhizobium, yeast. These are the useful microorganisms, and in harmful microorganisms we have to study about the clostridium and others. Now first we will be studying about some useful microorganisms. Now lactobacilli. Lactobacilli are very minute and they are rectangular in shape. Lactobacilli bacteria are anaerobic, that is they can produce energy without the use of oxygen. Okay, so they are anaerobic type of bacteria. Then now before starting with the another section, let us first try to understand, yogurt, which you are using, one of the ingredient in your food. How is it made from the milk and what exactly happens in the process? We are first going to study how yogurt is made from the milk and what exactly happens in this process. Now what happens, students? First, the lactobacilli converts lactose, the sugar in the milk, into the lactic acid, and this process is called as fermentation. Then what happens? As a result of this, the pH of the milk decreases, causing coagulation of milk proteins. Okay, coagulation means, it may be a new term to you, so let me explain. Coagulation means milk, when you see, it is a little bit, it is liquid. Okay, milk is definitely a liquid, but yogurt, it is not a liquid, it is little bit insoluble, it is coagulated form. So this happens due to the result of a pH of the decrease in the milk. And what happens? Thus the milk proteins are separated from the other constituents of the milk. And this is same thing what happens when milk change into the yogurt. Okay, when milk changes into the yogurt, the same thing happens. And the yogurt is not sweet. Your milk, okay, it may be like not very sweet also, so but it will be never be little bit sour. But your yogurt, it is little bit sour. Okay, that is due to the presence of the lactic acid. And the low pH, it destroys the harmful microorganisms present in the milk. Whatever the microorganisms are there which are causing harm, those are destroyed due to the presence of the low pH. Okay, in this way we have studied how the milk gets converted into the yogurt or curd. Now remaining and different types of bacteria we will be studying in the upcoming sessions. Students, now we are going to study about the uses of lactobacilli. Okay, what are the uses of the lactobacilli? Now first use, that is various milk products like yogurt, buttermilk, ghee, cheese, shrikhand, etc. can be obtained by fermentation of milk. Now how yogurt is made, that you have already studied in the previous videos. So many different forms of milk products are gained by the process of fermentation, which is done with the help of the lactobacilli. Lactobacilli fermentation is useful for large scale production of cider, coca, pickles of vegetables and etc. Then lactobacilli and some other useful microorganisms together are used to treat abdominal disorder, and this is the reason when previous people, the elderly people in your family, always keep on saying, if you are having an abdominal disorder, so better you should have rice with yogurt or something, such type of combination. So there was a reason behind this, and the reason was that it is containing lactobacilli, which is used to treat the abdominal discomfort. Then leave-in fodder offered to domestic cattle like cows and buffaloes is fodder fermented with the help of the lactobacilli. Means not only the food which we are consuming, but even the food which is consumed by the domestic animals like cows, buffaloes, they are given a special type of fodder, and that fodder is also fermented with the help of the lactobacilli bacteria. And the lactobacilli fermentation process is used to make wine and some types of breads. Okay, now wine is also produced with the help of the fermentation. Okay, with this is wine is produced with the process of the fermentation, and lactobacilli is used in the production of wine. And even some types of the bread, some types of your bread, they require the fermentation. Means when you knead the dough many times you will see it has raised twice or thrice to its volume. Okay, if suppose if you are trying to make a pizza bread at home, pizza base at home, that time you will be able to see if you add certain contents, it will raise, it will ferment, it will raise in the size. So many types of the breads are produced with the help of the process of fermentation, and in that process we are utilizing the lactobacilli bacteria. Children, once again read the lesson, watch the videos, your concepts will be more clear. Students, now we are going to study about the next type of useful bacteria, that is the rhizobium. It is also known as the symbiotic bacteria. Now this is the diagram. This diagram is also given in your textbook. You can refer the textbook diagram for your convenience. Okay. So this is the typical diagram of the rhizobium. Okay. Now first you are able to see that it is a capsule like single structure, that is given as rhizobium. Then you are having the different processes shown. Okay. And then root nodules of soya bean plants are shown in this picture. Now first we are going to study about the role and importance of rhizobium. What is the importance of rhizobium? What is the role of rhizobium? So rhizobia living in root nodules supply nitrates and amino acids to the plant, and in exchange get energy in the form of carbohydrates from it. Now children, your concept regarding this will be cleared. I have already taught you in your 7th chapter, energy flow in an ecosystem. I have taught you about the nitrates, nitrites and amino acids. Okay, so what is happening in the rhizobia? Those live in the root nodules and they supply nitrates, nitrites and amino acids to the plant, and what they get from the plant in exchange from plants, these gets the carbohydrate. Okay, it gets the carbohydrate. So such mutually beneficial relationship, means beneficial, or you can say understanding or a mutually helpful relationship, such type of relationship between two organisms is known as a symbiosis, and that's why the rhizobium are also known as the symbiotic bacteria. Rhizobia produce nitrogenous compounds from atmospheric nitrogen. However, for this process of nitrogen fixation, they need leguminous plants like beans, sweet pea, soya bean, etc. as host. And beans and pulses are rich in proteins due to the nitrogenous compounds made available by rhizobia. So hence we can say that the beans and pulses, they are rich in proteins. Why they are rich in proteins? Because they are getting nitrogenous compounds available by the rhizobia. So this is the role of rhizobia in the fixation of nitrates and different nitrogen compounds. They fix the different nitrogen compounds in the soil, and instead from this what they get from the plant, they are helpful to the plants, and plants give them the carbohydrates. Students, hope you all have performed the eye exercises. Now we are continuing with the next section, that is the role and importance of rhizobium. Children, now do you know what are the farmers doing of the leftover parts of their harvesting, the roots or the certain parts which is of no use, they are dumping that into the farm soil. Now why they are doing so? They are doing so that it is helpful to maintain the bacterial population of that particular soil. Then the rhizobium is also useful, it is very helpful to the farmers in the way that it reduces the use of chemical fertilizers, and also it prevents the adverse effects of the chemical fertilizers. You all are might be very well aware of the different uses of the different types of fertilizers, and then effects. What are their effects on the soil? The soil is getting very much soil degradation is there, the deterioration of the soil is happening, the water holding capacity of the soil is also decreasing due to the different use or excessive use of the synthetic fertilizers. So it is also, or chemical fertilizers. So it is useful, the rhizobium is useful to maintain the natural growth or natural quality of the soil is maintained. Then children, it also helps to reduce expenses on fertilizers and thus works to the benefit of the farmers. Nowadays seeds are coated with rhizobial solution or powder before sowing. Okay, so what happens once we are applying a rhizobial solution on the seed, and afterwards when the seed grows, after sowing the seed, these rhizobia, these enter the plantlets, and this is called a rhizobial inoculation. Okay, this process is called as rhizobial inoculation, and this is helpful in supply. Now what is the use of the rhizobial inoculation? It helps in the supply of nitrogen to the cereal and other crops besides the leguminous crops. Means it gives the nitrogen, as you might have studied in the previous chapter, that nitrogen contains the 78% approximately, it is containing the highest percentage. Okay, so in this way the nitrogen is supplied to the plants with the help of the rhizobium. Now children, remaining we will be looking in the next video. Once again I request you all to read the lesson and watch the videos. Children, today we are going to start with the next session of your science and technology part 2, in which we are studying chapter 8, useful and harmful microbes. Okay, so today we are going to study about the yeast. Yeast is a heterotrophic fungal microbe that grows on carbon compounds. Okay, it is a microbe most of you have seen on stale breads and many times chapatis. Some whitish whitish growth is there. That is nothing but that is a yeast, and it reproduces by method of asexual reproduction, and that method of reproduction is called as budding. This is the diagram of the fungus cells. Okay, and this is the process on how the bud is developed. See, the bud is picture is shown. Okay, the labeling is given bud. Okay, this is how the bud is grown on the yeast cells. Now yeast is a unicellular fungus with 1500 different species in existence. There are approximately 1500 different species of yeast. The yeast cell is a eukaryotic type of cell. Okay, you are very well aware of the eukaryotes and prokaryotes. You have studied in your 8th standard. Now yeast grows and multiplies very quickly due to the carbon compounds in the sugar solution. So mostly yeast grows due to the presence of the carbon compounds in the sugar solution. In the process of obtaining nutrition, yeast cell converts the carbohydrate in that solution into alcohol and carbon dioxide. So what happens now? For gaining the nutrition, what does yeast do? It converts the carbohydrate from that particular solution into alcohol and carbon dioxide, and this process is known as fermentation. We have studied about the fermentation in the previous slides also, no, previous videos also. We have studied about the fermentation, how we are getting the different products like breads, wines. These are the certain products which we are getting due to the process of the fermentation. So even yeast is also producing, or it is carrying over the process of the fermentation. Now remaining we will be studying in the next video. Hope children you all have might performed your eye exercises. Now we are going to proceed towards our next session. We are going to study about the next certain things which are related to the yeast. So I am going to cover certain sections which are given in your textbook about the section do you know. Okay, so often alcohol is produced along with sugar in sugar factories. Okay, and molasses is produced from sugarcane juice. It is very rich, or it is having high content of carbohydrates. Molasses is fermented with the help of yeast called Saccharomyces, and in this process ethanol C2H5OH alcohol is produced as a primary product, and ester and other alcohols as secondary products. So there are certain uses of ethanol. Okay, what are we getting from ethanol and what are the qualities of ethanol that we are going to study now. Spirit and other alcohols can be obtained from ethanol. Now spirit, you might have been aware with this product. It is used for burning in most of the chemical laboratories also, and for cleaning also we are using, for certain processes we are using spirit. So that spirit we are getting from the ethanol. And also ethanol is a smokeless and high quality fuel. Smokeless fuel, I hope children you might be very well aware nowadays that due to pollution we are trying to have such fuel which is having very less smoke, or which is not having too much smoke, so that we can prevent our environment from getting more and more carbon dioxide, because if the smoke is there, CO2 is there. So ethanol is one of the, you can say, clean and green fuel. Besides molasses, we are also maize, barley and other grains are also used for industrial production of ethanol. So not only molasses, but we are using the other grain, that is maize, barley and other grains also we are using for the industrial production of ethanol. And ethanol nowadays scientists or researchers are more focusing towards the ethanol, because they want to know that how we can get more ethanol so that we can get the smokeless fuel for different activities. Glucose and fructose, the sugars present in the grape juice, are also fermented with the help of the yeast to produce the alcohol which is used in making wines. Okay, so you all know that a wine is prepared with the help of grape juice. For that also we are using process of fermentation, and in that process also fermentation we are using the yeast. So now this was something about the uses of the yeast. It is used in the production of alcohols, it is used in production of the ethanol. Ethanol is a high quality fuel which is a smokeless fuel that we have studied in this section about the uses of the yeast. Remaining we are going to study in the next section. Students, now in a present chapter we have studied about the yeast and some uses of the yeast. Today we are going to now continue with the bioremediation. Okay, so yeast is also used in the bioremediation process. How it is used, that we are going to study now. A yeast, Yarovia lipolytica, is used to absorb the toxins released during the production of palm oils and the heavy metals and minerals released in some other industrial process. So what is happening, the heavy metals are there, okay, and some minerals are there which are very toxic, okay, which are very, you can say, harmful to the environment. So what is the yeast nowadays we are focusing on, researchers are focusing on that the yeast is used to absorb the toxic, means yeast is growing on that toxin, cultivating on that toxin and causing the degradation of that toxic. So for that production also, for that purpose also we are using the yeast. Then Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used for absorption of pollutant arsenic. Arsenic, you all might be knowing, is one of the very dangerous and very harmful component which we are having, and many places you might have studied that even if it goes into the groundwater, it is even affecting the groundwater quality also. Okay, many places, many people are suffering due to the arsenic pollution. So now Saccharomyces cerevisiae is one of the you can say type of yeast which is absorbing the arsenic. So the after using this, you will be able to see that the arsenic concentration in any substance will decrease if Saccharomyces cerevisiae is cultivated or grown on that particular element. Then oil spills in oceans. Now the one of the major problem which peoples are facing nowadays, that oil spills, big ships are there, big ships are there, and due to which many times due to some certain accidents or certain leakages, when the ships are carrying the oil is spilling, it is destroying the ocean. So at that time also we are using Alkanivorox bacteria to clean the you can say surface of the water through the oil. So these are certain species of different useful microorganisms which we are using in the production of bioremediation. Bioremediation means what? The removal of toxins with the help of the biological organisms. Okay children, so now we have studied about the bioremediation. Remaining we will be studying in the next videos. Whatever you have studied till now, please read in your textbook, refer the videos twice so that your concepts will become more clear as the time passes. Okay, and please try to study the names of the organisms very properly, especially these names which I have mentioned, the certain types of bacteria, okay, and their spellings, and always try to write in the proper manner. You have to underline the genus and species name, whatever it is written very properly. Okay, that I have already told you that in the previous chapter of the plant classification, whenever you are writing any biological name, so you have to write it very properly without committing any spelling mistakes. Okay, remaining we will be looking in the next video. Children, today we are going to start with your science and technology part 2, chapter number 8, useful and harmful microorganisms. Now today we are going to study about the antibiotics. Antibiotics is a very general term. Nowadays most of you are, I think so each and every one of you are aware with the term antibiotics. Okay, generally doctors are prescribing antibiotics in the case person is not feeling well. Okay, now children, you should also know that antibiotics are a wide variety. Okay, there are different varieties of antibiotics. The different varieties and that we are going to study later, but today we are going to study about the antibiotics. And now I am first going to tell you the definition of the antibiotics. So what are the antibiotics, students? Carbon compounds obtained from some bacteria and fungi for destroying or preventing the growth of harmful microorganisms are called antibiotics. Okay children, please, I want you all to underline this definition is given in your textbook. Okay, so whenever a definition comes, define antibiotics. What are antibiotics? So these terms should be written in as it is they are given in your textbook. So what are the antibiotics? Antibiotics are nothing but they are carbon compounds which are obtained either from bacteria or from fungi to prevent the harmful growth of the harmful microorganisms. Either they destroy the microorganisms or either they prevent the growth. Okay, so once again I am reading the definition. Carbon compounds obtained from some bacteria and fungi for destroying or preventing the growth of harmful microorganisms are called antibiotics. Now antibiotics were discovered in 20th century and they have brought a great revolution in the field of medicines. Okay, so nowadays you know that whenever any person is suffering from either bacterial infection or from any fungal infection, the doctors prescribe them the antibiotics. Okay, and antibiotics, I think so in your 8th standard also you might have studied certain introduction is given to you already in your 8th standard, but now we are going to study in some different aspect. Okay, so You should know that antibiotics were discovered in the 20th century and they have brought now many diseases previously which were not possible to cure the diseases. Due to introduction of the antibiotics, nowadays the diseases can be cured very easily. Even the disease like tuberculosis has been almost completely eradicated in some of the countries. In many countries, the diseases like tuberculosis has been completely removed due to the introduction of the antibiotics. Okay, children. So this is the introduction of the antibiotics. Remaining details we will be studying in the next videos. Okay, please read the lesson and watch the video as many as time your concept is not becoming clear. Students, now we have started with the topic antibiotics. Okay, now previous video we have studied about the definition of the antibiotics and what revolution it has brought in the field of the medicine. Now we are going to study about the types of antibiotics. Okay, how many types of antibiotics are there and what are their uses? Okay, that we are going to study in this video. Children, antibiotics mainly act against bacteria, but some antibiotics are there which can destroy the protozoa always. Okay, so antibiotics we are mostly using for the bacteria, but certain antibiotics are there along with the bacteria, they destroy the protozoas. Now children, depending upon the variety, okay, on which wide variety of the organisms the antibiotic is killing, okay, that antibiotics is divided into two different types that we are going to study, which are the spectrums. Okay, now some antibiotics are useful against wide varieties of bacteria. Okay, now some antibiotics we are using for the wide varieties of bacteria, and such antibiotics are called as broad spectrum antibiotics. Such antibiotics are called as broad spectrum antibiotics. Some examples of broad spectrum antibiotics are ampicillin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, etc. These are your broad spectrum antibiotics. Then we are having when pathogen cannot be identified, even though the symptoms of diseases are visible, the broad spectrum antibiotics are used. Means what? When a physician is unable to diagnose exactly which pathogen is causing the disease, okay, when they are not aware, but symptoms they know, okay, when they are able to understand, okay, due to this symptom such and such disease can be caused. So in such conditions the physician is suggesting the broad spectrum antibiotics. Whenever a pathogenic microorganism is definitely known, means when the doctor is knowing or physician is knowing that exactly what is the reason of the particular disease, that time he is suggesting the person the narrow spectrum antibiotics. Okay, when the exact pathogen is known that certain pathogen is causing the disease, then in such condition narrow spectrum antibiotics are used. Examples of narrow spectrum antibiotics are penicillin, gentamicin and erythromycin. Okay, so which are the narrow spectrum antibiotics? Penicillin, gentamicin and erythromycin. In next video we are going to study about the penicillin in little bit detail. Okay children, once again go through the textbook, read the lesson, your concepts will be more clear, and these spellings might be new to you, so kindly whenever your exams is there, kindly try to write the correct spelling. Okay children, remaining we are going to study in the next video. Students, we have started about the antibiotics. Okay, so we have studied about the broad spectrum and narrow spectrum antibiotics. Now we are going to study about the penicillin. I hope you are very well aware penicillin is coming in which spectrum, either it is a broad spectrum and narrow spectrum. Okay, answer I am not going to give you definitely, you have to try to recall the previous video, and answer you are going to get in that video only. Okay, now penicillin is a group of antibiotics obtained from fungus, that is penicillium, and is used for controlling the infections caused by bacteria like Staphylococci, Clostridia and streptococci. Okay, so now we are using penicillin for certain bacteria like staphylococci, clostridia and streptococci. These are the bacteria which growth or which harmful effect is controlled by the use of the penicillin. Okay, and children, if in your textbook underline this word penicillium is given in your textbook. Okay, so underline, so it can be one of the question may be asked in this way, that penicillin is a group of antibiotics obtained from a fungus, name that fungus. So that name you should be aware from which fungus you are getting the penicillin. Medicines containing penicillin are useful to treat certain bacterial infections of ears, nose, throat and skin as well. Diseases like pneumonia and scarlet fever are also controlled using, or also cured using the which this penicillin. Okay, so penicillin is used in wide varieties of diseases. Okay, so diseases are like ear infection, nose infection, throat infection, skin infection, pneumonia and scarlet fever. These are the certain diseases which are cured by using the antibiotic penicillin. Okay, now children, these diseases are there. A question can be asked that name the diseases, or penicillin is used to cure which of the diseases. So that time you should be able to write the answer that it is used to cure your ear, nose, throat and skin infection, pneumonia and as well as the scarlet fever. Okay children, till now we have completed about the antibiotics. Remaining part of the antibiotics we will be studying in the next video. By that time please read the textbook. Certain things which I have told you to underline and highlight it, please go through it, so it will be more useful for you when you study for your exams. Okay, read the lesson and revise the videos also. Children, today we are going to start with your next lectures, that is about the useful and harmful microbes from Science and Technology Part 2. Now today we are going to study about the penicillin. We have completed in the previous lecture. Today we are going to study about the certain cautions while you have to take antibiotics. Okay, certain preventions are there, certain cautions are there which you have to take while you are prescribed an antibiotic. So antibiotics should be taken only when prescribed by a doctor. When a doctor is recommending you, then only you have to take the antibiotics. Then don't purchase any antibiotic from medical stores without a prescription from the doctor. Means unless and until you are not having any prescription given by the doctor, please don't purchase any antibiotic on your own. Then don't consume antibiotics on your own to treat common diseases like throat infection, common cold or influenza. Nowadays we see many times that people, they are thinking, okay, this medicine is very common, even though it is an antibiotic, I can take, I know that okay, every time my doctor suggests same thing, no, so better I am taking on my own. But no children, and especially during these periods when you are already aware of COVID-19 this time, so we have to be so careful that strictly avoid treating yourself with any diseases. You are thinking, okay, it's a common infection and I will be like, my parents will be guiding me and I will be taking the medicines. If your parents or anyone in your knowledge, if any person is trying to treat themselves, not trying to cure themselves by taking any antibiotics, any general medicines, please suggest them, kindly refer yourself to a doctor, kindly contact to a doctor, get yourself diagnosed properly, and then only continue with the medicines which are given strictly by a doctor. Don't try to treat yourself or anyone else, or if you see anyone is doing this thing, no, kindly request them to refer to consult to a doctor. Many times what happens, we have recovered, okay, we are recovered from the disease. So then what we do, whatever the prescription is given by the doctor, we strictly don't follow them. Okay, so now we think, okay, now I have recovered, so no need to continue the medicine, and we stop consuming the medicines in between. That thing should strictly be avoided. Even though you have recovered, you are feeling well, okay, but you have to complete the prescribed course of antibiotic, okay, which is given by the doctor to you, and complete it. Even though you may feel that you have recovered before the whole 5 days treatment, 3 days treatment, or many times 7 days treatment, you may feel at certain stage, okay, now I am feeling better, I have recovered. Then also it is strictly suggested that whatever antibiotics are given to you, that dose should be completed by you. And one most important thing, that don't suggest others the antibiotics which were useful to you. Many times many people are having allergies, reactions to different things. So in such conditions, never try whatever medicine you have recovered, that medicine worked with you very properly, you have got good result of such antibiotics, so you suggest to others. Never do this thing, okay? Every person's allergy pattern is different, every person's body pattern is different, even the recovery rate of person to person, it varies. So never suggest the antibiotics which were useful to you, or which work to you very properly, are going to have same result on others. It may be not always same. In fact, many times the other people may get certain infections, certain allergies due to their antibiotics. So please be careful regarding that. Remaining we are going to study in the next video. So today we are going to now continue with the next section, and here we are going to study about the introduction to scientists. Okay, so this is a photo of a very well-known scientist, okay, Mr. Alexander Fleming. Actually, Alexander Fleming was a professor of St. Mary's of microbiology at St. Mary's Hospital, and he had cultured varieties of bacteria and fungi in his laboratory. Okay, so for especially doing microbiological practicals or practicals which are based on microbiology, so we are having a cultures, okay, certain cultures we are studying. So on 3rd September 1928, while observing staphylococci cultures, he made an interesting observation in one of the petri dish. So now I am going to show you what is the petri dish and what are the cultures. Okay, so see, this diagram tells you about the petri dish. Okay, what are the petri dishes? Okay, so here you are able to see the different types of cultures. Are there the certain organisms which you are able to see in the petri dish. The petri dish, the upper glass cover is petri dish, and the cultures you are able to see inside. Okay, so what happened, what he noticed, that on 3rd September he was studying the staphylococci culture, and he made an observation. What he saw that in that petri dish fungal colonies had grown, but the area around those colony was clean and clear. That is, bacteria had actually been destroyed. So while studying the staphylococci bacteria, he noticed suddenly that due to the presence of the fungi, the whole colonies of bacteria had been actually destroyed. It came to his notice that due to the fungal production, the bacterian colony had been destroyed. So when he studied this further, and when he continuously did a research for a long time, then he confirmed that whatever was the growth was there, okay, whatever fungus has been grown, it was actually penicillium, and its secretion had destroyed the bacterial colony. So the secretion produced by the penicillium had destroyed the bacterial colonies present in the petri dishes. Now in this way, what happened, actually in this, the first antibiotic penicillin had been discovered accidentally, and this formed the basis for attempts to find cures for incurable diseases. So due to the introduction, or due to the accidental, you can say, discovery of antibiotics, we are still able to cure many incurable diseases with the help of the invention, or due to the invention of this antibiotic, which is known as penicillin. Okay, so in this way, Dr. Alexander Fleming had accidentally discovered the penicillin, which is today used to cure many diseases. Remaining part we are going to study in the next video. We will be starting with the point of harmful microorganisms. Till now we have studied about the useful microorganisms. Later we will be studying about the harmful microorganisms. Students, today we are going to start with your science and technology part 1, chapter number 8, useful and harmful microorganisms. Children, if you remember, in the previous videos your teacher have taught you regarding the microbes which are useful. Okay, we have studied about the lactobacilli, we have studied about how the invention happened of the penicillin, and then we have studied even the introduction to the scientists also who have invented the penicillin. Okay, see children, now like you should know, every thing is having some positive, some negative effects. In the same way, even your microbes, which microorganisms we are having, that okay, we are having good effects of the microorganisms, no, they are helpful to us in many ways. Even the yeast we have studied, it is also yeast you have studied in the 8th standard also. Okay, it is used for making many food products. So many microbes till now which we have studied the positive sides of the microscope, which are helpful. Okay, with which you can make different products related to food, with which like lactobacilli, they are helpful for you to keep your digestive system in a good manner. Now children, now these were something which you have studied regarding the useful microbes. Okay, which when they are used in proper quantities, you will have a positive effect. Even we have studied about the antibiotics. Now children, see there what are the 3 types of antibiotics. This all things you have studied. Now in today's session, now we are going to step towards the next step you can say, and here we are going to start studying regarding the harmful microbes or harmful microorganisms. Now harmful microorganisms means what which are those organisms, which side effects can be caused, that we are going to study. So first we will be starting with the fungi. Now very common name, okay, that it is, we are mostly knowing it about it. Even you know your whatever you are having some leftover food for more than 3-4 days, even the chapatis which are damp and not used, that also catch a fungal growth, the white growth which you say. Okay, so it is very common, but it is having certain harmful effects. Which are those effects that we are going to study now? So microscopic spores of fungi are present in the air. If there is sufficient moisture, spores germinate on cotton fabric, gunny bags, leather, wood items, etc. So where will you see? We will be able to see this on cotton fabric. Okay, then after we will be seeing in the gunny bags, leather. Many times we see that costly shoes of people, they literally catch the fungus growth, and which may be harmful, which is destroying the quality of that shoes. Okay, especially leather, and then wooden items also, especially nowadays when the rain in your place only, it's raining since more than 1 month. A heavy rain, near about heavy rainfall is there. Okay, so in such rainy seasons also you will find that fungus will grow in very high quantity. If exposed to nature or exposed to the favorable environment, the fungus will catch very properly on these substances. Then the fungal hyphae, fibers of the fungus, penetrate deep into material to obtain nutrition and to reproduce. So these fungus, even though you are able to see superficially on the upper part, but actually these fungus, they penetrate deep inside the product on which they are formed, and they get the nutrition from the, after penetrating deep inside, and they also get the they also go for the produce of the reproduction, procedure of reproduction. Then, and due to this what happens, due to this it causes the material to wear and become weak. And then after, obviously, if I told you wood is there, only cloth is there, if fungal fungal attack is there, then obviously it will become wear and it will become weak. And due to this what happened, as a result, gunny bags, leather items like shoes, purses, belt, etc., on which fungi have grown do not last for long. So after this, the quality of the material degrades, and then these substances do not last for a long time. They suppose if you are having a leather bag, so leather purse, so after catching the fungus, it will not be able to, you will not be able to use it for a long time. And even the wooden items also get spoiled. Okay, so this is something happens when you are exposed to the, your substances are exposed to the fungus for a long time. Remaining we will see in next video. Students, now we will be continuing with your previous topic, previous video which we have started regarding the fungi. Okay, in harmful microorganisms we have started with the fungi. Now, various species of fungi grow on food items like pickles, murabba, jam, sauce, chutney. They use the nutrients in these food items for growth and reproduction. We have already studied in the previous video that fungus, it grows on the substances like food substances also, then your leather bags, the cotton clothes, gunny bags. And then for what does it grows over there? Basic thing, for what does it mostly grows over on such substance? For the process of gaining nutrition, also for the reproduction. Then what happens when it grows on such products? Due to this activity, it releases the mycotoxins, which are certain poisonous chemicals in the food, and thus becomes poison. So what happened after a fungal attack is there on the food products, food materials, your leather bags, your shoes, your purses, your gunny bags, then even the wood products, what will happen? It will release a mycotoxin, which is a poisonous chemical, and then food will, and other products also will, if suppose it is this happening on food, then the food will become poisonous, then it will not be healthy for any one of us to consume such type of food. So what will happen, what doctors are suggesting, what people are suggesting, that on food which fungus have been grown cannot be eaten. Obviously, if it is releasing mycotoxins, then obviously it is not suggested that such food should be consumed, or it is not good, or it is not suggested to consume such food products which are attacked by the fungus. Okay, so that is why it is like when your parents, when especially your mother, when she makes the pickle, she always tries to put the extra salt in that. Okay, why we are putting in extra salt? So that salt is preventing the growth of the fungus. Okay, then especially in the food, many times we will be able to see that bread catches fungus very quickly. So it is always suggested to keep such spaces away from the moist, away from the heat, so that you can keep it for a longer time, because once a fungus catches there on any food product, that food product cannot be used for consuming next time. Remaining we will be looking in the next video. Children, today we are going to move towards the next topic of your chapter, Useful and Harmful Microbes of Science 2. Children, previously you have studied about the many useful as well as harmful microbes. Okay, we have covered fungi in the previous section, which is one of the fungus, which is the one of the harmful microbes. Okay, we have studied the side effects. Now today we are going to study about the Clostridium. Now, what is the drawback, or what is the reason the Clostridium is categorized as the harmful microbes? The reason is the bacteria, this particular type of bacteria is responsible for spoiling the cooked food. There are about 100 different species in this bacteria. Okay, some of these are living in the soil, and while some others are living in the alimentary canals of human beings and other animals. These bacteria are rod-shaped and these produce bottle-shaped endospores in the adverse condition. These are the certain diagrams of different types of Clostridium. Okay, now one of the special characteristics of these bacteria is that they cannot withstand the normal oxygen level of the air because they grow in the anaerobic condition. It means what? These are one of the anaerobic bacteria. Okay children, now due to being anaerobic, they mostly, you have seen in marriages or when too much cooked is food in some functions, after certain time if that food is not consumed, that food gets spoiled, and that food gets spoiled due to the Clostridium bacteria. Now you are very well aware the reason when this food gets spoiled, either in the summer season, if you keep, if your mother cooks dal and keeps for a long time in the summer season, the dal also gets spoiled. That is due to the presence of the Clostridium bacteria. Remaining we are going to study in the next video. Children, now we have reached towards the next section of your chapter, useful and harmful microbes. Today we are going to study about the spread and prevention of disease, how the different diseases are spread and what are the preventive measures you should adopt to prevent that infection. Children, this chart is given in your science and technology textbook also. Okay, you can refer that also. Now, so first disease which we are going to study, that is AIDS. It is caused due to the virus. Okay, and it is caused to the blood and semen of infected person. Preventive measures will be safe sexual contact and avoid reuse of needles and injections. Then next is the hepatitis. It is caused due to the virus, contaminated food and water. How we can prevent it? We can prevent by using clean and filtered water and proper storage of food. Next is influenza. It is also caused due to the virus. Mode of infection is due to infected when you are coming in contact with the infected person. And how to avoid it? Personal hygiene and avoiding contact with the infected person. Next is the measles and chickenpox, which is caused due to the virus and it is caused due to contact with the infected person. And vaccination and uncontaminated water and clean food. Okay, you can go for a vaccination, avoid the contaminated water. You should consume the uncontaminated water and clean food. Then bird flu and swine flu, it is you all are very well aware with this. It is caused due to the virus and it is coming contact with the infected birds and animals. And personal hygiene and properly cooked meat should be done. Okay, if you are consuming the non-veg, then it should be properly cooked. Dengue is due to the virus. Mosquito bite is the mode of pathogen infection, and for avoiding this you should keep your surroundings always clean and avoid the stagnation. Stagnation of water means if the water is there stagnant for a long time, you should avoid that. Then pneumonia is caused due to the bacteria. And how it is spread? Due to droplets spread in air by the infected person. And how to avoid it? It is avoided by vaccination and avoiding the contact with infected person. Then leprosy is also caused by the bacteria. It is caused due to long-term contact with infected person. You should avoid contact with infected person and their belonging. Then is the cholera. Cholera is caused due to the bacteria, and long-term contact with the infected person should be, contaminated food should be avoided, and you should consume clean food and water. Then malaria is caused due to the protozoa, and mosquito bite, okay, is the mode of infection, and cleaned surroundings. Cleanliness of surroundings, preventing, so you should always keep your, for preventing this you should keep your surrounding clean and avoid the stagnation of water. Then dandruff, ringworms and scabies, these are formed due to the fungi. The mode of infection is contact with the infected person and using the person's belonging. And for this, avoiding this, you should always have a personal hygiene and avoiding the contact with the infected persons. So children, now we have come to the end of the lesson, and please read the lesson, go through the different terminologies which are new to you, and go through the videos twice or thrice unless and until you understand the concepts.